everybody. Welcome to the third episode of Mental Check. The guest I have today, one of my best friends since the college days. One of the smartest dudes I know, and super excited to get on the show. So let's welcome Tyler Weaver. T-Weaver, what's good? We haven't even seen each other in like 2.5 years, so it's been too long. Yeah, it's just good to catch up for us, for real. So, T Weave, if you could, just want you to go into your upbringing, like just kind of who made you Tyler today from when you were little until now.
Cool. I appreciate that introduction. Man, hype me up for a second. But yeah, Tyler Weaver. So Tyler, my dad's name is Ty. So I guess my parents decided to just add an LER onto the end, kind of name me after my father. So that's kind of how that goes. But I guess it starts from the beginning, where like we talk about our roots and where our ancestors came from. So my roots come from the South mostly. My mom's family is from South Carolina, like in the country. Like I'm talking like have pigs in the backfield and like tobacco fields. Like literally, like the farm is on their property. And my dad's side is also from the country, but more of like that rural, like suburban country, if you will. Big families. He's got 12 brothers and sisters. My mother has 6 brothers and sisters, so big families. Up from there. But I was born in in Kansas. Yes, Kansas, very rural place. Different.
What part? I didn't know that.
Manhattan, Kansas. It's where Fort Riley is. My dad's in the Army, so he was stationed there at the time. Kansas State is also there, the college. So I was born in Manhattan, Kansas. It says on my birth certificate. Never forget it. But yeah.
Really Atlanta fan, but go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. Kansas doesn't have a team though. I don't think so. Yeah, we'll stick to Atlanta. But after that, my father's in the Army. Like I said, he retired as a lieutenant colonel, so very structured in how he raised us. So once we did that, my parents picked up and moved to Atlanta, Georgia, because to Augusta, Georgia, actually, where my father is from, because he got stationed at Fort Warren down there. So we spent a lot of time there, and then we moved to Atlanta, Georgia, because he got out of the military and started working at the reserve base around that place. Then we moved back to Augusta, Georgia, because he got back in the military, and then from there, my parents separated, and then that's where like I could truly like how I really like started to learn who I was and like what shaped me from that point. Because I have 3 brothers, all of us are in different branches of the military. We were raised like outside, like for real, like outside, like in the backyard every day, like playing sports or whatever we can, but with each other. So great time there. From there, just went through schoolings. Once we settled in Atlanta, Georgia, so I started living with my mother. My dad, we would see him because he initially went to Washington D.C. We would see him maybe once a month. So it's kind of that weird, like, yes, my parents were both there for us, but like at the same time, my parents were not. So it's, I don't know, it's just weird. But I do thank them a little. Both of them is inside of me. Like my dad is very competitive, very structured. Will lay into you if he has to. My mother is very kind, gentle, very godly woman, and so I take both of them like inside of me, and they like shape who I am.
So real quick on that, when your parents separated, like how old are you?
10 years old, I believe.
How did you, I guess, understand that as a 10-year-old, if you did?
That's just exactly it. I didn't. A lot of nights I remember hearing my parents like arguing in the other room. They would try to keep us sheltered from it as much as possible, but I used to hear that we used to hear the arguings. Like we just like kind of comforting each other, like me and my brothers. And I didn't know what was going on until like maybe a little bit later, when it became okay. Okay, I say. We would get separate cricket video switch as a kid when you're 10 years old. It's pretty cool. So, but apart from that, like there's a lot of like traveling to my father's house during like once a month, and then coming back to my mom's house where we were living. So it was a lot of moving around, just hard for like a 10-year-old to like kind of grasp.
The impact I feel like it has, like during that time, like as a kid and growing up later. So going off of that, so man's from Kansas. I did not even know that. But Kansas is an Atlanta guy. That's crazy for me to hear. And then growing up, bouncing around everywhere from big family, close knit family, and now here it is. So next thing I want you to go into is your lowest point ever. Just say how like little to now, like what's your lowest point, and how'd you overcome that?
Um, I'd say lowest point was probably during a time that like both was experienced. That was pretty hard pilot training. Like probably the hardest years of both our lives. Definitely the hardest year of my life. And it was almost triggered by something that wasn't there. Like we talk about this anxiety thing. That's pretty much what anxiety is. Just that things we're foreseeing things that actually isn't there. So at this point, I've been doing well in pilot training. So like I was then, but then I started to doubt myself and say like I'm gonna be stuck in this place. Oh, we went to pilot training in Del Rio, Texas, which is literally middle of nowhere.
Like 5 minutes from the border of Mexico, there's nothing out there.
Nothing.
Close city of San Antonio, 3.5 hours away.
If you want to go on a date there, you're going to Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking.
Uh,
So, so we're down in Del Rio, and there's just nothing for us there. Like as a black male, like there was only a couple in the city, like a couple black people in general in the city. So not around, very isolated. Um, then further from there, like they put stress on you on purpose in pilot training. So we're going through that, and then my relationship, which I've been with my girlfriend for now 5 years now, it was at its rockiest that it's ever been. Um, I started going like a downward trend in the airplane. So I started projecting on myself that I was going to end up still stuck in Del Rio, and I couldn't control my fate. Things were just I don't know, they were just going bad for me overall. So that was when I would stay inside. Um, I was constantly like searching for something, searching for how do I get myself out of this rut? How do I get myself out of this rut? And at this point, I had been raised in the church like my whole life. At this point, I was in a city that I felt like wasn't conducive to like my the way I worship pretty much like coming from the South like Southern Baptist like it just wasn't that. So I tried to like pretty much have my own church in my room on Sundays, and it just wasn't. I didn't know how to do it at that point. Um, so I was just searching and searching and just projecting myself that I'm gonna be stuck here, and like it's to the point where I was like just trying to talk to somebody, and then like I figured out how to specifically talk to God for me. Like that's my outlet. That's who He is, my therapist. Um, Fortunately for me, I had that relationship with Him since I was a child. So I know who He is. I know how He listens to me. I know how to talk to Him for myself. So that helped so much. I had my brother Rico. He's my roommate at college right too. So we were both going through tough times. Rico had just lost his father at that point a couple months earlier, and like his though his like load was lower than mine, I feel like, but we just still confided in each other. We were able to talk to each other on the daily. Um, Tears, man, tears and lots of prayers. And I remember going to the gym one day at Laughlin and just literally just, and I'm not the best shooter at all. But I remember going to the gym and just literally shooting basketball for 2 hours, 3 hours, just putting up shots until I was like dead tired.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Nah, so pilot training like is such a grind. It's basically not only just a year and a half of you just working every single day, getting ready for your career, but that year and a half to kind of decide your entire career. So how well you do will decide like your next 20 years essentially of your life. And so that's why where all that pressure comes from, and anxiety and everything. So going back to kind of how what you were saying about your anxiety, like how did you, when you were in that downward spiral, like how did you get out of it? Was it the talking to God thing? Like was it the combining Rico was just over time? Like how long did it take you to get out of that rut?
Um, can't I don't know if I have like a certain point where it was just like I am officially out of this anxiety phase because like I feel like anxiety comes and goes as our mood comes and goes in waves. Um, and just like I said earlier, like projecting upon the future that is like actually not real. So I was talking to God every day. I have this like little poster board where I put sticky notes. Like if I hear a verse that like triggers something in me, and I write something down quickly. I write the verse down. Right now, I literally have a hashtag of what that verse means to me, and I put that on this board. And that board is still up in my man cave now, in my house with my girlfriend. But it's up there, and then I would just post sticky notes, and then I would really look at that board every single day and just pick something to to like structure my day after. And that helped a lot. But everybody, I feel like everybody has their own mechanisms. Like there's no like fix all for anxiety. Like we get these people on TV and all the time. It's like this is how you fix this. No man, it's not
Gonna be different for every person. So, what is it like when it comes to like anxiety, especially for men? Like it had a lot to do with like we just super uncertain. Like we have no idea what's gonna happen next, and that kind of drive us nuts. What do you think it is about like men particularly that when it comes to the uncertainty, like why does that just drive us kind of can drive us into a dark place?
yeah.
Like,
I don't know. Like that's the question I feel like that everybody has been searching for, and there's no like complete answer. And like we kind of talk about, it's different for each person. But like for men in general, like we've been pushed upon us that we have to be good at things. We have to win pretty much everything we do, so that we can provide for not only our family, like that's coming after us, but the family that have before us. So like we're giving them a return on their investments and things like that. So like our society puts that pressure on the male, like the males that's like you have to do this, and then when we don't succeed in that, I feel like we put unnecessary pressure on ourselves, and that just compounds because you can never be perfect. Like we know that.
yeah,
There's no more perfect man like in the history. It's not us. So like
right.
we just continue to try to press ourselves to be perfect, and it just builds and builds and builds and builds. And I think it's a detriment to us. Um, yeah.
I feel like it's hard too because it's like I mean I was talking about it. One of my brothers is like that's the first thing that people do like when you talk to them, especially like when like as men, it's like, oh, what do you do? Like
Yeah.
all the time,
Yeah.
like you're checking each
Uh-huh.
other up, and it's like, damn, like is that how we value each other just like that? Like it's just based on what I do, and I feel like we're getting to a point in society where it's a little bit better. Where like you can't just be like this great star and be a terrible person, but at the same time, like it's definitely still there, and people definitely still feel the pressure of it. Like if they're not in a good spot and they have to go up and walk up to people and know that they're gonna ask them, oh, so what do you do? Like,
Yeah. And we don't do it on purpose. It's like it's almost like it's subconscious to where we just like yesterday we're in DC, and then the first thing we do when people like come up and talk to us is like, oh, what do you do?
yeah,
And it's literally just like you're just taking it for no reason. You're not even comparing yourself, but you just do it.
it's weird. It's just all automatic. All right, so as y'all know, like about a little over a year ago, I had about 8 of my closest guy friends go through the mental check and just they talked about their 2020, how they overcame some challenges, some of the weaknesses they faced, and just overall what they got in 2020. So Tyler hasn't seen his in over a year. It'd be cool to see like where he's at now compared to where he was then. Yeah.
For myself, didn't face any of those different challenges, but I did face one of the challenges that probably most everyone faced on their own was that isolation piece. And me coming from a family of three brothers, we were always together as we were growing up. Then went to the Air Force Academy, had a roommate all 4 years. Went to pilot training, had a roommate. This is my first opportunity living out my own. I got to Vacaville, California in February, beginning of February of the month. Then a month and a half later, of course, everything shuts down and the world goes dark. First, experiencing isolation was all great. Didn't have to go to work, so I could do whatever I want. I could grow out a beard for the first time in forever. Then I was playing Call of Duty all day, just connecting with some friends. But it began to take an emotional toll on me after about a month and a half of it. The first real thing that happened was when the Ahmaud Arbery case, a kid that looked very similar to me from a similar place as me, being from Georgia, about the same age, doing an activity that I was doing on that very day. Just to think that my life could have been taken away from me, just like his, by someone who has a little bit of hate in their heart. It's just nerve wracking for me. So that took an emotional toll on me. as well as the George Floyd case, all the unrest and protests that was going on during that time. It began to eat at me, and it was getting to a point where I didn't know where to turn, and I was filled with so much anger and so much frustration, so much confusion. Didn't know why this was happening, and this was happening to my ancestors and people that look like me. So went to a very dark place. Started to turn like many people do to different vices of alcohol and pornography and whatever's out there that could give me some sense of joy. And after a while, I had to realize that this wasn't helping me in any way. So dealing with that isolation was probably the toughest thing I've ever done. Fortunately, I had a lot of people on my side that were able.
COVID gave kind of a lot of people a lot of time to kind of sit in their thoughts and some of provoke change, provoke anger. Kind of talked about just the minority oppression that was going on during that time and kind of how that affected you. Can you speak a little bit more about why that affected you so much?
Um, so I guess I'll start with honestly like where we are right now. Like we're in Washington D.C. We're probably about half a mile from one of the most prestigious HBCUs in the country. So it kind of started from that. Like we went to the Air Force Academy, which is roughly about like 6% black people, like with 6% black people and about overall like 20% minorities. So me thinking that like I wasn't doing enough basically. I just felt like I was sitting in this apartment in California. Everything was given to me. I had already earned enough, and that like I just wasn't doing enough for the other people that looked like me. And at that point, it was just like I wanted to do something. I wanted to do something so bad, but like at the same time, you don't want to go out there and do something rash, um, like do something that could like potentially like hurt your career or something like that. But like I just wanted to do something. So like the only thing I could think of was like I just needed to equip myself. At that point, I was like, okay, I need to be reading. I need to be preparing for the future because this battle is going to come, and I know I'm going to need to be prepared for it. So I started reading books, every book. So started doing that, watching videos. Started studying up on like Malcolm X. Started studying up on what Martin Luther King was actually putting out there. He knew all these different leaders from like the civil rights era, and it started frustrating me more, um, seeing the old struggle that they were going through because it was even harder than what we're doing right now. So that was actually building up more and more and more and more anger. But like now, I had a little bit of peace from the Ahmaud Arbery case. Now, 1 year later, that the three men were penalized and they were sentenced to pretty much life in prison. So that's a little bit of closure in that area from the video that we just watched. But I don't know, and like the battle's not over. Like it's 2022, and yeah, like I don't want it to be a fade, like a fad of 2020 and 2021, which I can already see it kind of fading that way. So like, I just want us to continue this fight into 2022, 2023, and so on. So yeah, let's just keep doing that fight, man, for real.
Like when it comes, so thinking about that now, not even just kind of the social pressure, because I mean, I kind of felt like it wasn't a fad during the time, but over time it kind of turned into that, like with social media and just everything that pops up in the media, everybody has something to say about it. It's becoming more so like I have to say something about it, not because I care per se, but because people are talking about it. Um, but I mean, I feel like there's going to be a time that we're going to talk about for a long time when we're older and like all these different cases and everything. Uh, I think we've felt some change and at least got people talking more and some laws is actually changing. People actually caring we're in the right spot. So one of the things that you also talked about is like you're just trying to find something to like get your mind off things like the immediate satisfaction. Um, Going straight into those vices, we don't really realize that we're caught up in them until afterwards. So, well, why do you think that it's so easy to get lost in that during the time?
because like so I'm a biology major, undergrad. So like everything I try to project back to a little bit of science. Like I think we we are primitive like pleasures and desires like take over. Like we want that shot of dopamine. We want that satisfaction like right then, just because we start resulting to like our basic instincts, and we just let that control us. But like we're more powerful than that, which is where we have to train the mind to like to be more powerful than our primitive instincts, and that's why we read these books. That's why we talk to each other. This is why we need to. If you have to go to a therapist, you have to go talk to whoever's in your sports. This is how we get better and conquer that. So I think it's really just a permanent thing that we just settle and we just try to get that instant satisfaction, that instant shot. So, yeah.
Next, we'll go into Tyler's second video. And this he talked about one by Inky Johnson and mindset.
One of the most inspirational people that I've ever seen is one Inky Johnson. Don't know if you've ever heard of him. Don't know if you've ever seen him speak, but he was a former Tennessee football player who grew up in inner city Atlanta through strict poverty and grew through the ranks and went to the University of Tennessee on scholarship and was eventually projected to play in the NFL. He lost everything that he had worked for in one tragic accident on the field, to which paralyzed him on his right arm and shoulder. But he didn't stop there. He took that journey that he went through with that paralyzed arm and used it to change people's lives as a motivational speaker. He talks about we know what to do when God says yes. We know what to do when God blesses us or answers our prayers. But what do we do when God says no? I feel like that's a major theme to what happened throughout this year for many of us. The world stopped and we had to figure out what we were going to do along those lines. So for me, how did I get through this complicated time of isolation? I leaned on many people around me, leaned on some reading, some books, leaned on some shows. Transformation Church was a big influence for me. Pastor Mike has a way with words, and during a time where you can go to church in person, I found that his messages on YouTube helped me. I used to tune in every day at 9:40 on Sunday, and that would be my inspiration for the week, and it would help me get through it. Met some people here at Travis Air Force Base. Dave Brown, another pilot here in the squadron. Met him for the first time whenever I came to Travis, and he helped change my life. Watching him be a father to his son and a husband to his now wife has just been life changing for me in my relationship with my girlfriend. Some other things that helped me get through all this was reading. I'm now a reader. I used to never say that I would ever read in my life, but I've now read 4 different books. And for me, it might not seem like a lot, but like for me, it's been a game changer, and it's helped me change the way I think about the world and keep my spirits high whenever something new happens in the world that's disappointing for not only me as a black youth, but for many other people that look like me. But I found that very, very helpful.
What what motivates you? What motivates me?
I know it's a loaded question, but take your time, whatever. But
Um, I guess I want to be real with this question, because something that motivates a lot of us that we don't want to say because we don't want to seem like too prideful or anything is like I like winning and being good at things. Honestly, like that is what motivates me and has always motivated me since I was like a child. It's just like sports. It's just like I'm competitive because I wanted to win at the end of the day. Um, trying to do things the best is what always has motivated me. Like I have on my wall at home that like what is my biggest fear? My biggest fear is being average, and I'm running away from that every single day, and that's what motivates me. So like if I feel like it helps other things like a means to an end almost. like it's an end in itself, really, actually, because if I am good and if I do things and I win, then other people prosper around me as a product byproduct of it. So that's why that's kind of my motivator. I don't know if it's a good motivator, but like it's done okay for me so far, and I know I need to tweak it a little bit. Like just winning and just winning is not like necessarily healthy at the end of the day, but like it helps things. I don't know.
Sure. No, I mean, it definitely gets you moving to the point, and like I don't know. I feel like that's the intrinsic part that everybody needs to at least like get started and keep going, if you will. So I think that's super important. So like you kind of had that throughout your entire life. You were talking about. I guess how important has been to you to be like supported like through your family or through your friends growing up who kind of had like similar mindsets if they did or if they did not, how did that hinder?
So my brothers and I, we always had a very similar mindset. We're like I said, we're competitive with each other. We're always trying to be the ones to win. And then growing up with friends, like people like people attract each other. So just naturally, I was gravitating towards, and other people were gravitating towards me. Very similar people like you, like Ro, like Dot, like Trey, all these men who were like-minded like me. And then I look at my girlfriend's like friend group or other friend groups, and it's just like they don't have like the support structure like we have with each other. It's like it's crazy to think about this bond that we have, like and how many good men are out there, and then we'll join each other. Like in a college, it's crazy to think about.
It's I think it's sad that more people don't have it and like that. I don't know. It's crazy to me that we, especially as men, like there's a lot of good ones and we don't help each other enough. We're not around each other and whatnot. We just don't check up on each other enough. So no, it's great to hear. Another thing that you talked about in the video is Dave Brown.
Yeah,
Dave Brown. And he kind of
Brother
talked
Dave.
about like how he was sort of like almost like seemed like a role model guide to you during that time. Like he just be a little bit more into that, how he helped in your relationship or just as a model and Travis.
Yeah, so Dave he's an older cat. He's from from Jacksonville, Duval County. They always shout it out, but Dave's old school. He is like older than normal people like at this stage in his like Air Force career because he went to ROTC kind of late, and his now wife he just had a daughter last year, but his now wife had a son who was 10 years old at the time, 11 years old. Mike was, and Mike is such a good kid, but like Dave didn't have to like be a good father to Mike. Just watching Dave like how he took care of Mike and treated him as his own son was just like uplifting to me. Just like, well, that's crazy. This man can take this other man's kid and then now his kid. So like that drove me to be kind to people. And then how Dave interacted with everyone in the squadron and everybody around him, he just brought joy. And I am kind of like a serious person. Like I'm very work hard, play hard. So like in the squadron, like I'm focused on my work because that is my job. But like Dave had a way and a knack of inviting people around and like being cool with everybody, like while he was also getting the job done. So like I wanted to emulate that and like put that in my repertoire of leadership and of like as a man and as a friend too. So he just gave me just watching him. So I just wanted to be like him and emulate what he was doing.
Is he like okay, is he gonna be a commander one day type of guy or is he
So I don't think he's facing that path,
yeah,
but he's one of those people that everybody wants to be around.
yeah.
And that's kind of like what I want to like be a little bit too. It's just like he's so likable, literally to everybody. I don't know anybody who has not said that's a great dude to Dave Brown. Seriously.
So for the last part about Tyler's video, we're gonna go into his weaknesses that he faced in 2020 and then kind of a way forward in 2021. And we'll see if he stuck to that way forward in 2021.
What am I proud of about what happened in 2020? A couple of things I'm extremely proud of. The reading thing again. I literally used to say I'd never become a reader ever. I would never read books. I thought I was too good for that. Too much time would be spent reading and thinking when I could just watch a movie and learn it all that quicker. But read a couple books throughout the year, and it's changed my perspective on life and how we interact with each other and the thought process behind these great thinkers out there. And so much that I bought even 8 new books just at the beginning of the year that I'm going to try to get through in the first couple of months. So that's definitely changed. Some other things is running too. Who would have thought that running helps you clear the mind and helps you uh, engage in some kind of physical activity that's going to be challenging to you as an individual. You're competing against not another person, but you're competing against yourself. So every day is another chance to compete against past me and future me. So I found that very refreshing for me. 2020 though hasn't been a year full of triumphs though. I've found so many weaknesses in myself throughout the year. But some of the major things that stood out to me were succumbing to some of those vices out there for everyone. Some addictive things like alcohol and pornography to pass the time during this time alone was some of the most devastating blows to my psyche, to my progression as a person, and just my overall enthusiasm throughout the day. So succumbing to some of those things, but it helped knowing that Transformation Church helped me get through it with some of the Pastor Mike's lessons that he would put out there. Another weakness that I found in myself is I kind of tailored off on my mentoring role that I had started to take on after graduating pilot training. I was on a roll with trying to help others, trying to foster some cats younger than me, but I became so stuck of trying to get myself out of a rut that I lost that kind of part of myself that was looking to motivate other people and looking to encourage other people. So definitely going to try to pick that up again this year. That's the word of the year for me is fostering. Be on the
It wasn't actually just about what you said, it was about some things we were proud of as well. Let's start with that, honestly. So, books and running, you guys would have told me that this guy would be reading books and running for fun when we were in college, out of college, like he was like super against it. Like, oh, I read books, I can watch a movie. Like, well, I do that. Or like, I'm not gonna run. That's not fun. Like that was literally him. So the fact that he is like that's two of the things that he's doing now, like just shows me the change. So like we can talk about it. Like you're reading books, you're running, you talked about kind of the mind set change with the depression that kind of made you get into reading more. What about running?
Yeah, I mean, reading is cool, but running, like some people get like use running as like their time to like get mentally focused and like kind of like decompress, but like it's not really that for me. Running is just um, like I kind of talked about, it's like just being competitive with myself. Like some days I run worse, some days I run better, and then like it just gives me something to like since football is no longer there. Flying is kind of competitive, but that's my competitive juice now. And I saw our friend Dot. He ran half a mile, not a marathon, excuse me, up in California. He came to visit us too out there, and I saw him do that. I was like, I gotta do that, just because I love Dot, and I know how like Dot is one of our best friends and like a brother to me. So I wanted to run a half marathon with him maybe one day. So this year, you can look at I am gonna run a half marathon. We'll see how it
We
goes.
gotta get our first guarantee. So that's great. Um, I'm just shifting gears now, kind of talking about what your weaknesses that you kind of went into between alcohol, pornography, and then trying to get yourself out of that rut you're in. Can you speak on all three of those things? If you're still struggling, you gotten past that.
Um, so I'll just hit each one of them like individually. So for alcohol, it comes in waves. I think I've done better than I was at that point, 100%. Um, and who has helped me with that has really been like Melissa, my girlfriend. She has just been there to just like keep me grounded, just You tell her we don't need that right now. It's just like, so yeah, you're right. So she's up with that for the pornography. I've done so much better with that. And it's made me so much happier. Like I, I just like it still sneaks into your mind, of course, just like, oh, I could get this instant like shot of dopamine right there, but like you just tell yourself no, then it's like it's hard to do, but yeah, it's just made me feel so much fuller in my relationship with my girlfriend. I'm able to provide for her and like be there for her instead of my mind being focused on other things like those other vices like pornography. So done a lot better with that, thank God.
That's great. That one is super destructive, dude. And I know it's like that one is kind of interesting just because I mean, growing up like in locker room talk and all that, like that's just something you just throw out and whatever. And it's like when I came to the point where I kind of felt weird about watching pornography, I was like, but everyone else was like cool with it,
Mhm.
and it was like I got to the point kind of like how Joshua says in the Bible, like like regardless of everybody else is doing, like as for me and my household, for me and my mind, we're like I can't do this, and so same boat, feel way better with this. That's super good to hear. And then going into your last one about the self rut and not being able to maybe help people out as much as you wanted to. How you doing with that?
2021 was took a lot of steps in like mentoring role. I was able to finally get approved to be a admissions liaison officer for the airport academy. So now I can help in a official capacity with like helping students. Me and our other homie Braden Hill, we did like this AIM High Flight Academy camp. So went and taught high school students pretty much how to fly across like 3 weeks, and those little dudes and girls they text us all the time, and that was the coolest thing I've done in the Air Force so far, hands down. And I wish I could do it every year if I can. So that's helped done a lot in that. Um, but where I have fallen off is just how I'm helping my friends, my peers around me. Like I've been so busy in my job and stuff that I haven't been like reaching out and like texting all the time. So I do need to up that a lot for sure in 2022.
It's great to hear, man. And I mean, I think it's just one of the cool parts about doing this for real. It's like seeing like where you were in 2020
Yeah.
and where you are right now, and like seeing the growth, just the change. Really. All right, so wrapping up these last two sections, so mental check is started just because I feel like we don't talk to each other as men enough and don't give each other enough time to be authentic with each other. It's usually about our jobs and whatnot, but not some of the real issues that we face. So, Tyler, if you could have a chance to speak your voice to any men suffering, whether it's anxiety, depression, just even suicidal thoughts, just in their lowest place right now, like how would you speak life to them?
Um, I would say that be okay with being vulnerable. Um, we try to be this rock for everyone in our lives, and we try to make sure that we're showing other people that we're not vulnerable at all. We can't we're incapable of falling. We're incapable of failing. So like even like I don't try to push people to make sure they go and seek professional help, but you could either seek professional help or like find that support system. Like everybody needs to find a productive support system that you can like vent to. That could be your girlfriend, wife, kids, even like your friends. Like just find them and they can be your therapist sometimes. But sometimes you just gotta just talk about it, and then it'll help you because you can just talk about it to somebody. Um, like I have my support system, my girlfriend. Like I used to just try to like be the strongest person and not make sure that he doesn't know anything, but he has like asked me to come forward and talk to her. So I just vent to her all the time. I just spew everything at work, like all the drama, everything that comes up. I'm just like, babe, this is what's on my mind, and it helps so much. Instead of just trying to hold it in, like I've talked to the Lord about it, but like just talking to another person also helps too.
And that's like But I feel like that's what we do as men is just kind of suppressed and like just be strong and everything. So I think we're getting to that point where we're just able to talk about it more, just as you said, like just be more vulnerable. All right, so last part of this is we go into the mental check, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. So we'll start out with mental. So where are you at mentally right now on the 10? You kind of explain why you chose that answer.
I would say I've progressed in this middle piece to like almost like a 4 or 5. And I say that because this new job that I've taken on in the last 2 months has literally just been pretty stressful for me, and like I haven't been able to adjust to it just yet. And like how it fits into my lifestyle, like it's starting to it trickles over into like when I go home, I bring it home with me, and I'm starting to like stay awake at night, just thinking about how I can prep for the next day or prep for something like a week from now. So like gotta get away from that because that doesn't help me at all. Like I need to be sleeping and stuff like that. So I would say 4 or 5 in that realm. It's starting to trickle over to a lot of other pieces of my life, which I wanted to not because work is work, and then at home is at home, leisure is leisure. So there we go.
And not put you on the spot, but like how kind of like what kind of things you're gonna do to just kind of separate that or just kind of get into a better place? Like, do you meditate? Do you do anything like that, or how are you gonna get your mind back into a better place? Is the time that you're about to just grind through it? Like,
I, that's a great question because I ask myself that all the time. Um, and what I've been telling myself right now is so there's a sermon that Pastor Mike did a couple months ago. It was like waiting faith, to where we go through seasons, and my season right now is a service type season. So I know it's going to be a stressful year because what happens, like I received a blessing and then I went to this middle ground and then eventually I receive another blessing. So I'm in this service phase, which I'm fine with. But what I have to do better in that phase is like figure it out. Like I know I'm just gonna have to grind, but at the same time, like I do have to help myself be mentally like healthy. So it's like I just I don't know. I feel like it just figure itself out, but like is that the right answer? I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like the danger in these busy seasons is that we're always looking towards like that next event to get through, and it's like, all right, like dang, I got this. All right, dang, I got this, and like over time, like that's I feel like those are the easiest times where our mental does kind of get out of whack because we no longer have this time to just kind of sit back and whether it's reflect or anything. So I would just I would just encourage you, like I said, a friend as a brother, like take some time for yourself and like and make it deliberate too, because that's really gonna get you gonna keep you in a good spot. Like it's not only you're good at work, but it's like this relationship or
That's nice.
stuff. Yeah, cool. All right, going to emotionally now. One to 10.
Um, emotions been I'd say it's been pretty good. And I attribute that to my beautiful girlfriend Melissa. She's a dream come true. Like our relationship has blossomed, and she keeps me energetic. She keeps me alive. She makes me so happy. Like my emotion, like when I come home, I just get more joyous because I get to see her face and interact with her and love her and whatnot. So, babe, love you. Thank you for being my rock. She's helped my emotional state a lot. So I would even say like an 8.5.
Love to hear
That's enough.
Yeah, love to hear that. Next one is spiritual.
Spiritual, I'd say is doing okay as well. I put it at a 7. Um, because I'm currently reading Crazy Faith um, by Pastor Mike Todd. It's a good book so far. But I've seen all of his like videos on it, so it kind of like rehashing like what he actually talked about in those through the reading.
Yeah.
So that's helped a lot. So spiritual, I consider my spiritual realm like my communication with God. So with the Holy Spirit. So that's going pretty well, I think.
Good to hear, man. And then last but not least is physical.
Physical. Okay, so I have gained like 20 pounds literally since I started doing the job because I can't figure out like when I need to be working out like properly. Relationship way is a thing because when Melissa moved in, then we just go out, we like to go on dates. We go out to eat all the time. So um, I know we said that 2022 is going to be different. So now that I'm doing my like physical fitness test in the Air Force, I'm gonna like grind it out and shed that weight off. Get back to like my normal weight and things I have. Get back to running because I kind of tempered like that tapered off a lot at the end of 2021, which I need to get better at too.
Yeah.
So yeah, physical. I'm putting that as a 4. Man.
Before, there we go. Eat better and run more.
Yeah. Eat better, run more. Actually go to the gym, like make it deliberate. Like if I have to do it in the morning, I gotta do it in the morning.
All right, man. I'll hold you to that too. Last thing, man. This is just kind of flowers piece of it. You've been, you know, one of my best friends at the academy, and you've always, you've always been super driven. But I mean, you've always been just one of my best friends, and always there through the dark times and the best times. And I feel like it's hard to find something like we have. So like, I just like want to say that I appreciate you as a friend, as a brother, and just I don't know to act like everything you are. Like you're one of the friends that I met, and I automatically knew we'd be friends for life. So I appreciate you. I got so much love for you. I really don't like you, but it's all good.
There are you people. That's what it is. And the Eagles are trash.
But yeah, man.
I appreciate it.